The first step I want to give people is this is really, really important. This first thing about being a great collaborator is you have to be open to getting feedback, right? When I look back over my career, feedback was always a constant for me. Like I was always, and it wasn't necessarily like feedback of everything that I'm doing right, right? Like everything that I'm doing right, I'm gonna continue to do that. Like feedback of constructive feedback, or what are some things, what are some examples that I could do better, right? And I think this is one of the most important things of being a great collaborator is being open to that receiving party and saying, hey, say you're partnering with sales, right? You're working with the sales group, and maybe it's the sales leader's first time actually working with a finance partner that is just not knocking them across the head because they're traveling too much or they're spending too much on clients, right? They're actually working with a finance person or a CFO that wants to be more collaborative, right? And one of the best ways that you can have in that conversation is saying check in points with them, right? Like, hey, I'm open to feedback. What are some things I could be doing better? Like, what are some gaps that I could be, be a better business partner for you? What are some areas that gives you more horsepower, give you more insights? Like, you have to come to the table open to receive that feedback. And traditionally in finance, right? Like, we're the ones that are just like, we typically take things maybe as feedback from the business, or maybe feedback from your audit partner, or feedback from a banking partner, feedback externally. We kind of sometimes take that feedback personally, right? And I'm not saying that that's like, a lot of times the feedback is don't take it personally, right? Like look at it as a way of like, hey, you're sharing with me like constructive ways to get better, and I'm going to accept that feedback, right? And I struggle with this, right? Like a lot of times I take feedback when I say I struggle with the feedback element is earlier in my career, right? I took feedback and I took it personally. I was like, man, the marketing partner that I've worked with, we did this great analysis. We worked on this like lead attribution strategy, and like all he had was just like constructive feedback. And I was just like, man, I'm not doing a good job. And I took it personally that he didn't highlight any of the other elements that I was doing well, right? And I remember sitting down with him, and he was a great marketing leader. He runs a marketing, he's a CMO now here locally in Indianapolis. He says, Chris, like, I don't want you to take the feedback that I'm giving you to derail and say you're not providing us, but I know you strive to be better, right? And like one of the most important things for you is just one thing that I've seen is that, you're not wanting to know everything you're doing well. You're constantly wanting to get better, right? But I also know, Chris, I need to probably balance that out. So we work together on a framework of feedback where it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you two maybe like two really important constructive examples, clear feedback, and I'm gonna give you one thing of feedback of you done really well, right? And this 2-to-1 ratio like really helped our relationship because it wasn't just like three things I need to get better at all the time, right? It was like, hey, Chris, here are the two most important, or the two or three most important feedback items I want to give you, but here's also 1 to 2 things that you're doing really well, right? And it helps balance that. So I think in finance, you have to be open, and CFOs as well too. This is all levels within the finance organization. Being open to receive that feedback. Don't take it so personally, right? Don't just take it as an attack as you as a person, but look at it from a lens of positive intent that this person wants you to get better. And you want to be better in that relationship. You want to be better in that partnership, right? So I think that's step number one is being open to that feedback.